once again, welcome to Business Basics Friday. I am Safietou Russell, CEO and founder of SDR Consulting, Inc. And Business Basics Friday is a weekly session catered to business owners to provide valuable information. We have a variety of guest speakers that come in to help share information and educate you on the many areas of your business or private practice that you manage. Just as a disclosure, this is strictly informational, educational. There's no client relationship established here and no legal advice being provided. As far as my background, I've been in the industry 20 years, and I'm a CPA and enrolled agent, and also have a master's in taxation. And a bit about the firm, SDR Consulting, Inc. is a virtual firm based in New York. What we do service clients all over the US. And we mostly work with business owners, especially those in the mental health profession, help them reduce their concerns regarding tax and accounting so that they can focus on their clients and their own well-being. So today, if you do have any questions, I encourage you to go ahead and put them in the chat if you're here on Clubhouse or in the comments on the Facebook Live, and we will definitely go over them at the end. And so now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today. We have Akai Jackson joining us, and he's going to be sharing the importance of taking care of your mental health, especially while running your business or private practice. So Akai, thank you again for taking time to join us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm here today to chat about business basics, right? As a mindfulness expert, I teach small business owners why the power of mindfulness is important to workplace culture and how nurturing a positive mindset can increase productivity and sales, right? I consult with businesses, universities, and organizations of all sizes, teaching them actionable steps their employees can implement right away to boost business. So my expertise is in mindfulness and how being acutely aware and in tune with emotions and the environment in the present moment without judgment plays a huge role in workplace culture, productivity, and sales. So every business has a starting point, right? That they have maintained success or they're working towards success and upward momentum and trajectory phases, right? All of which require different shifts in mentality and focus, right? So I think the saying goes, right? You have to give up to go up, or you have to go up to grow up, right? You have to basically separate who you used to be to get to the next phase or the next level in business, right? We call it leveling up, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that mentality, that shift, and how you have the ability to walk through, mindfulness and mental health and how that plays out in the workplace. So, especially in sales, right? There is actually something called the trans-theoretical model, right? So we're actually talking about being able to implement change in behavior, right? Being able to move someone from point A to point B or point C, whether you are the manager or the boss or the leader coaching an employee or a partner, right? Or whether you are actually taking someone through a sales process, right? You have the ability to implement these, phases and be able to move forward. So, one of the first things that we'll pay attention to, right, is that there is a piece in this change in behavior. So the first phase is actually called pre-contemplation. Okay, so while you're getting ready to make any sort of change, right, you are actually sitting here thinking about, right, is the risk worth the reward, right? Am I trying to move forward through something, and if so, why, right? Is what I am doing worth what the preconceived objectives might be, right? You move into contemplation, right? Now you're gathering data, you're collecting information, you're really just trying to see, is this at all possible, right? Is this something that I have the ability to accomplish? Okay, then you move into prepping and planning, right? This is the how am I going to do this? Why am I doing this? What am I going to be doing? So forth and so on. then we take that phase and we move into action. Right. In action, obviously, you are putting in the work, you're experiencing the ebbs and flows, the valleys, right? The peaks, the successes, the losses, the wins, right? You're experiencing all of those things in action. And then you have maintenance, where you've gotten to some specific level of success. You've achieved some sort of milestone or some sort of goal. And then you're just kind of coasting for, whether that's a month or two, or maybe even a couple, where you make a decision, right? Before you make a decision to go and get to that next level. And there's one more phase that I have to make sure that I, help everyone understand, and that's relapse. And when you relapse, you have the ability to fall back into any one of those other categories, right? So let's singularly kind of walk through those and break those down in terms of, let's say weight loss, right? So you're sitting on a couch, right? You have a goal of, losing weight, or, wanting to feel better about yourself, right? So you've known you've needed to do this, but you just haven't made a decision, a conscious decision to take that next step. So, maybe you're watching TV and there's a commercial on, and it says, Planet Fitness or LA Fitness or some gym that's close to your house. And they say, $0 enrollment, pay nothing for the first 60 days, right? So forth and so on. To come here and work out, we have access to this, you can have this, you can do this, so forth and so on. So the commercial sparks your interest, right? So now you're pre-contemplating, right? You're, man, I know I need to do it, but I'm just not sure. I'm just not ready. Usually you're going to be in this pre-contemplation phase from anywhere from, right, 0 to 3 or even 6 months, right? You're just kind of, I know I need to do it, but I'm just not sure. And you get these little inklings of I'm just not sure. I think I need to make a decision. I think I need to make a move, but I'm just not 100% mentally prepared to do that. In business, that might look like, I think I need to expand, right? We have a 1,200 square foot office, but I think I need an extra, 1,200 square feet so we can double in size so that I can be more productive or do more. But, maybe you are a little bit scared, right? Because that real estate prices are inflated, right? Due to inflation. You do know that right now in our economy, in our world, right, that there's something called the Great Resignation, where there's so many people who are choosing to not work, where you're trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to bring on new or extra people in an economic divide like the one we're experiencing right now. Right. So you're just sitting down thinking that you need to make a choice, thinking that you need to make a decision. But there's so many worldly factors that, tell you, maybe it might not be the right time, or maybe you're just looking for, that gap, that break, that aha moment that says it's time for you to take the next step. Right. So now you move forward into into contemplation. So now you are really looking at the risk reward, right? You are really paying attention to, okay, let me go ahead and collect as much data as possible. Let me balance out whether or not I have the ability to grow. Let me see if I have the time. Let me see if I can create the framework and the structure to step forward, right? So again, I'll use the same two examples. And weight loss, or getting ready to join a gym, that might look like, well, am I going to go on the way to work, on the way home from work? Is it close to home, or is it close to work? How much does it cost, right? Maybe you've now decided to step into a facility and see how much it costs, right? See if you have access to a trainer, how clean it is, and all the things that will help you make the decision, right? You're gathering information. When it comes to the business world, maybe you start to take a look at office leases. Maybe you start to do a little bit of research to find out what's available. What are the options, right? You start taking a look at, do I want this type of look, or do I want this type of look? Do I want a city vibe, or do I want to be in a secluded area where I can really concentrate, right? So you're just gathering as much information as you possibly can so that you can make the best decision for yourself, right? The next phase is that prepping and planning, right? So you've thought about it, right? Something has sparked your interest to make a decision. So now you've made a decision, right, to move forward. You've collected as much data as possible. You have made sure that, you are prepped and moved, right, to get ready to make this actionable leap. So now you're talking about, okay, the gym setting. I'm working out 3 days a week. I'm going to do cardio 3 days. I'm going to do resistance training 3 days. I'm going to follow this specific type of meal plan or nutrition, right? I'm going to eat this type of food. I'm going to take these types of supplements, and I'm going to do that. In the business world, that might look like, okay, my office is here. I'm going to work here from this time to this time. I'm going to gather, 2 or 3 employees, and they are going to do X, Y, and Z. Or my partner is going to run this branch, and I'm going to go run this branch. We are going to execute this. We are going to move in this manner, right? So you're just prepping and planning, and again, making sure that all your ducks are in a row, essentially. Then you move into action, right? Action, that is where you have now signed a lease, you've purchased the building, you have now built out whatever it is that you're looking for as far as taking advantage of what the business opportunity looks like, right? You have everything in place for you to go and grow and be, whatever that looks like for the next level or the next phase in business looks like. You are moving towards your goals consistently and daily, right? So that last phase, that maintenance phase, right? You've obtained the goal, you've achieved whatever level of success you are looking for, right? And then you potentially have relapse. Maybe you have to get rid of an employee, or an employee leaves because they are experiencing success in other areas in business and they want to go and move and do something different. Now you have to reroute, no different than what your GPS does, right? You might go back to pre-contemplation, right? Man, did I make the right decision? Let me sit here and figure out if this was something that was worth the risk, right? You might go back to contemplation, right? Where you're just, again, collecting data, collecting as much information as possible, so that when you go back to prepping and planning, you have the ability to, not make the same mistakes. And again, obviously you get into action, you have the ability to process that and move that forward. And then again, you've achieved another level of success, and now you've experienced success, and now you're in maintenance. So, those are really the primary pieces and roles and ways that you have the ability to take psychology and pair them with how you are able to move and be successful in business.
Wow, Kai, that was I'm processing all that, but that was great content. Great content. And I love how you actually gave real life examples of how to apply these steps. Excuse me, both in real life, for example, the gym, and in your business or private practice. So I just want to kind of recap and make sure I got everything, because I can see how people make decisions definitely affects their business and their life. And I can see the benefit of taking a step-by-step approach like this for all those important decisions, and not it helps you with, I can see it helping you with being overwhelmed, preventing you from being overwhelmed. It can help you with the stress level that goes into making these important decisions.
Absolutely.
So one thing I want to kind of revisit is the pre-contemplation and contemplation, right? So I feel like in those 2 stages, somewhere along the way, that's where doubt can kick in, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And how would you say that people can minimize or deal with that doubt that comes into those phases?
So one of my favorite sayings, right? Where fear and doubt lies, success can't dwell there. Right. So if I blanket the statement with where fear and doubt lies, success can't dwell there, we have to know and understand in that moment that we will not be able to reach any sort of level of success if we don't chip away or etch away at whatever self-doubt or doubt that we have. So when you are in pre-contemplation, right, where you are really just bouncing back and forth between, should I do this, should I not do this, right? Is the risk worth the reward? That is actually where you're really not trying to solve any problems. You're not really trying do anything other than move forward. Whether that actionable step is, I'm going to walk into a gym and get some information, or I'm gonna hop on the internet and see what leases are available, regardless of how much they cost, regardless of how far away they are, or hey, I need to hire another employee. Okay, so the action that you take is I'm gonna go ahead and hop on Indeed and see what types of people are out here, the caliber of people, or what am I actually dealing with, right? So you have the ability to form and frame something up so that you do have the ability to take something forward. If you're experiencing doubt in that contemplation stage, you're really going to answer all of the questions that you have doubt with. Well, can I do it? Well, if you've already been in business for 6 months, 2 months, 3 months, right? However long you've been in business, you recognize that you have a business. And at that point, you've had some level of success. So you can now take inventory that tells you, hey, you know what? I've got 1 or 2 clients, or I've got 5 or 6 clients, or I've got hundreds of clients, right? Man, I'm able to make my rent and pay my bills and have money left over so that I can operate. So when you really start to frame this up and look at the facts of the information are, you can start to chip away at and remove that doubt. And again, where fear and doubt lie, success can't dwell there.
That's great. And I've heard a great quote too and read it that action cures fear,
Yes,
right? So,
absolutely. Yep,
so
absolutely.
taking those action steps to kind of chip away at that doubt and that fear is what can help move you to the next step. So,
And
but these are,
there's another part of that, right? So I think you always hear the term when you're young, especially growing up in business. You hear leaders are readers, right? So they say, man, every successful person, every leader, you read books, right? So I used to pride myself on reading 10, 12, 14, 15, 16 books a year. But what I found is that knowledge, as much knowledge as I can put into my brain, whether that is psychology, whether that is mental health, whether that is mindfulness, whether that is motivation, whether it's inspirational self-help, whatever it is,
mm,
right? That knowledge never, ever, ever, ever produces action. But conversely, just like you said, action will always produce knowledge.
mm,
So you get so many people who, man, I want to read the book on how to start a business, and then I need to read the book on how to make the business successful. You actually could just start the business, right? And then start creating things, start moving, start doing actionable things, and you're going to learn what to do, what not to do based on your lived and learned experience from there.
yeah, definitely. That getting in the weeds of it, hitting the pavement. Those are the ways you definitely figure these things out. But like you said, taking those actionable steps. So if you are, for example, you're in your private practice and you're looking to hire, you're not sure if you want to hire. The financial part of it, I'll talk about later, but just from the mindset part of it, right? Looking into the talent that's out there, understanding what it takes to manage a staff, and the employee relationships and issues, that can arise, and right, and like making sure you're in a good place for that piece of it, right?
Yes.
And then you have the capacity to handle that as well. So when you're making these decisions, there's the financial piece, which we'll touch on, but there's really the first, you internally making a decision for yourself and understanding the impact on your life of that expansion, or that decision to maybe move offices, or that decision to open another location, right? A decision to let someone go. All of these decisions first start with the mindset of it, right? And how it affects you. And then my favorite part, prepping and planning, right? Because that's my personality by nature in the accounting
Mhm.
field. And once you've gotten through the mindset, the doubt, the fear, and cleared all that and kind of mapped out, yes, you can do this. Now the planning, you know, the actionable steps, like you said, how often you're going to go, how many employees do you want to hire, what tasks are they going to do, what can you delegate, how much income can that additional person bring in, and does that offset the expenses you're going to incur? So that's where
Right.
you can start actually getting down to the numbers, right? So for my perspective, if you don't know your numbers, you're making these decisions on theory, right? You've got the mindset part right, but now on paper, what does that actually mean? So before you can expand, before you can minimize expenses, before you can open that second location or open that second practice, what do you currently have? Are
Right.
your finances in order? If
Right.
not, let's get that ready first, because you can't plan and prep from nothing, or from a
Right.
mess,
Right. No,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. I think it says proper structure precedes predictable results.
Mm.
And I'll follow that with, there are two types of businesses. There are businesses with structure, and there are businesses that are out of business. Like, that is how important prepping and planning, or having the framework and the structure for your business is. And it doesn't mean, you can't account for variable change, right? It doesn't just because you have, four walls and a door, it doesn't mean that you can't add another door or add another wall, right? It just because you've framed something up and said, this is the lane that I'm going to run in as far as business is concerned, does not mean that you don't have the ability to be flexible. So I think sometimes people might take structure as a I can't wiggle, like I can't move. But what they fail to realize is, when you have structure, that's actually where a lot of freedom comes from, right? Because no different than what you said, like you start to know your numbers, you start to comb through some things, you start to figure out what you can and you can't do. You start to really see what your strengths and weaknesses are, what your opportunities look like, what your threats look like. So from there, you now have the ability to say, man, the world is a lot more open than I thought it was, because now it's not such a broad spectrum, because I've put some framework and some structure here. I know where I'm supposed to drive. I know what turn the ability to make. I know how I can reroute, and I know what actionable steps I need to take in order to move forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just checking for any questions here on Clubhouse. So if you have questions, go ahead and feel free to drop them in the Clubhouse chat or Facebook comments. Great content being shared here regarding, your mental health and the importance of that in running your private practice or business. And so we were talking about prepping and planning, and now that, let's say you got your bookkeeping, set up, you have your cleanup done, you're on track, you're looking at your numbers each month. Now you can start to forecast and say, okay, if I'm hiring X staff, it's going to cost X dollars, and what's the amount of revenue they can bring in? What do I pay that staff? Start doing the planning, the research, the going rates, taking into account the great resignation, right? And keeping
Right.
retaining staff, and what kind of benefits do you need to offer, for those things. So definitely, um, that's why that you got to make sure you're in a good place with your mindset, because there's going to be some challenges at this time with doing these things. But if you're in a business model where you have potential for growth, right? Let's say you're in the medical space, let's say you're a mental health professional. Well, telehealth, came about in a more big way, in a bigger way 2 years
Yeah.
ago, because of, the pandemic. And there's a lot of mental health concerns right now. And so
Absolutely.
that is a business, a model that will thrive, can thrive
Yes.
right now. And in the future, because it's always important, but even more important when we're having these economic concerns and environmental issues and, pandemic stuff. So long story short, if there's the potential there for you to grow, then definitely make sure you explore all options. But just know that, financially, these decisions are, vital to properly plan for, because of yesterday's, and what was it? The price yesterday is not the price today, right?
Right.
For employees, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so that's that. Now moving into like the maintenance, I believe that. So action, so you take the steps, you do the hiring, now you want to maintain, right? Is that right? So
Yes.
you're monitoring your numbers now after the hire. How's the employee performing? How's the new location performing? How my weight management, uh,
Right.
am I in a better place there? Right. So you start to maintain and look at, where you were and where you are now, and if that decision made sense,
Correct.
right? And
Yes.
how much are you bringing in from that new staff? So that's where you start to look at those, factors,
Yes.
and then take a step back and look at your mindset, right?
Right. No,
How's your
absolutely.
how's your stress
Absolutely.
level, right? How's your
Mhm.
work-life balance?
Absolutely. And that mindfulness practice, right, at that point, right, has the ability to like you increase your ability to do something very important with your emotions, right? It gives you an opportunity to regulate them, right? So like you mentioned, my stress management, how am I dealing with this? Do I have the ability to take account for this? Do I have the ability to move this forward, right? And you kind of give your emotions a governing body, if you will, right? You get to decrease your stress, anxiety, depression, and it also allows you to focus your attention, right? As well as to observe your thoughts and your feelings, most importantly, without any judgment. So it is almost as if you have the ability to kind of recalibrate. So when I say maintenance or maintain, it is actually for you to build up more strength, build up the resilience. It's time for you to just take a quick breather so that you can then get prepped and prepared, right, to get to whatever the next level in business looks like, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know you mentioned, the importance of having like a support system, right?
Yes.
Where would you say that falls into line with these steps?
So, you're gonna want the accountability, you're gonna want the support system throughout this entire process, right? So one of the things that I recommend any person do, regardless of what situation that they're in, is express the goals, the wants, the needs, and the desires with at least one other person, right? Whether that person is a business partner, whether that person is a spouse, whether that person is a best friend, whether that person is your mother or your father, your brother, your sister, someone that is going to not only support you, but what's important is for you to be challenged with love and support, right? So it's someone who isn't afraid to keep you accountable to what it is that you said
Hmm.
to do. So, in practice, this might be what that looks like. I tell, my partner, my spouse, right? I want to make $250,000 next year. So we have conversations, and she says, I can absolutely hold you accountable to that. I can definitely hold your hand in doing that. I can definitely walk in front of you and show you how to do that. I can also walk beside you, hold your hand while you go through challenging things, alongside of you as a unit, as a pair. And then I can kind of let you go out there and make some mistakes, but know that when you fall, I'm going to be there to support you, right? So those are kind of like the three areas or the three levels that you'd want someone in. But when she sees me sit on the couch for 18 days straight, and she sees me not respond to emails, and she sees me not respond to phone calls, and she doesn't really see me taking any action or any movement to have any momentum to work towards, making $250,000 or whatever my goal might be. She has full permission at that point to, hey, so you told me you wanted to make $250,000. What have you done in the last 2 weeks to move that needle forward? I'm gonna have to answer her. I'm going to have to take ownership in what I did, what I didn't do, what I said, and what I didn't say. Right. So you're always gonna want someone of support who has the ability to give you checkups from the neck up, right? Give you the opportunities to show, do, and tell, and keep you accountable. And with accountability, I think that we oftentimes look at that as such a reactive thing. Accountability is actually a precursor to making sure that you do the right thing. It's not after something happens. Accountability is actually designed to be there before. So it is up to me or up to the business owner to be able to go to their support system and say, I am struggling with fill in the blank. I am struggling to take action. I am struggling to pick up the phone and make these phone calls. I'm having a hard time with fill in the blank. I'm fearful of something bad happening. I'm scared to be rejected, whatever that might look like, so that my accountability partner, my support, has the ability to love on me, has the ability to say, hey, you know what? I've watched you work. You can do this, and give you some of that life breathing inspiration versus, hey, I've sat on the couch for the last 8 days and I've done absolutely nothing. And then have your support trying to pick you up and lift you up and carry all of that. That's how I would love for people to start paying attention to what accountability has to offer. It is meant to be out in front, proactive versus reactive.
Great point. Definitely a great point. So that accountability partner is necessary, and that person, that could be different people in your life. Like you said, it could be a partner, it could be your tax professional or CPA. You know,
Mhm.
when it comes to the goals you're setting, as far as the number side of it, and you know, the projections that have been set, and what actions have been put in place to do that. And if not, let's reset it. So definitely, I love that, you know, I love that in the maintenance that it does incorporate, not just coasting, right, but staying ahead of things and being proactive and identifying issues ahead of time and dealing with them, et cetera. And then that last thing, that relapse, you know, it happens, right? You start a private practice, you expand, you're hiring, and your therapist is doing awesome, and then they give you 2 weeks notice because they want to go start their own private practice, right?
Right.
um so you're back to, but the key thing you said is you go back to square one, right? Instead of just freaking out, trying to skip a step and just, you know, okay, let's just go hire the next person. No, let's take a step back. What do we have to replace? You know, how well were they performing? What's out there in the market? And, you know, and then finding the right person, you know, taking a step back to square one was the key thing you said, instead of just, you know, stressing out and freaking out about it, because it does happen. And having systems in place, so if things like that do happen, everything's not in disarray. You know, like if you have a staff or a therapist or an employee, right? What system is in place to track what they're doing? What note taking are they doing? You know, so that if there is a transition to another staff member, they're not completely in the dark, right? And then the
Right.
client relationship is not affected, you know, because the second person come in has no idea what's going on, right? So there's systems, you know, as far as workflow, so that if these things do happen, because they will, that the transition is smoother. So
Right.
that planning phase, you know, it kind of goes back to that.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, it's important that people understand like what's actually happening, right? I think so often we do take action, we do move, right? When you're an entrepreneur, or you're getting ready to start a business, or maybe even if you're not a business owner and you're just thinking about doing it, right? You still have to understand like what you are, when you are, why you are, and those types of things. And that is why mental health and mindfulness is so important, because you have the ability to really turn inside and look at who you are. More importantly, who you are going to grow, and what you or who you are becoming, and what that business has the ability to do for you. And
Mhm.
again, you're going to be able to do that without fear of being judged, because it's you reflecting and learning about the process that you are going through, and then what that has the ability to project to the world, right? With whatever business or whatever service that you provide.
Mhm.
And I forgot, my apologies. I was so excited to and so fired up to get started. I completely forgot to tell people my background and like like who I am and where I come from. All right, so I'll take a quick second to do that. Right, I,
Perfect.
I own I own a personal and professional development agency. We curate mindset shift programs that take clients from existing to excelling in physical health, mental health, and emotional health, and financial health as well. And so I believe that mindset shifts are the key to not only surviving, but thriving, especially in unprecedented times like we have today. So at the core of my business, I strive to help people successfully shift mindsets, right? To go from existing to excelling. So one of the things that I like to do in practice is ask people very quickly, like they think the opposite of success is. And so that question to you is, what's the opposite of success?
Failure.
Now, you answer that very quickly. So my next question would be, is that what you've been taught or what you believe?
Taught.
Okay, so that is actually very normal, where people like either regurgitate or live in the price or the premise of, you know, uh, I'm gonna give you what I've been taught. But I actually pay attention to what is it that you actually believe. So let's just say it takes a newborn baby 100 attempts to learn how to walk, right? It is scientifically proven it takes a newborn baby 100 attempts to learn how to walk. That means on try 101, they have learned how to walk. Well, what do you have to do to get to 101? The baby's got to fall 100 other times. So what that means is, as long as the baby tries, as long as the baby continues to move forward, take steps, they're going to eventually learn how to walk. The only way they won't learn how to walk is if they do absolutely nothing. So the opposite of success is not failure. The opposite of success is either quit or don't try. So the only way that you won't have a successful business is if you don't start one. The only way for you to not move forward in life is to not move forward in life, not to move forward in life, right? And because of those types of mindset shifts and practices, I was voted America's favorite mindfulness coach, recognized on a huge corporate wellness platform, right? The successful, me being a successful social entrepreneur, I believe taking inventory, right, is the first step for anyone considering any sort of entrepreneurship, right? So we have the ability to list out the things that we're passionate about, right? And then we have the ability to move those forward. And all that came from formal education, professional background, and lived and learned experience.
Definitely. That was a great example. And I have heard that, and I have learned that before, but like you said, it's so automatic. That success is failure, but it's all about the learned experiences. And there's so many successful entrepreneurs out there who failed 50 times, 100 times, and now they're billionaires, right? So
Absolutely.
definitely it's about continuing to push forward. So on that end, I think this was definitely great. Akai, I want to thank you again for taking the time out to share a little bit about mindset and how it impacts your business or private practice, and also your mental health.
Yes.
And definitely, if you're here live, great. I definitely encourage you to share this with a friend, because I'm sure there's many people out there who could benefit from this message. So I'm just going to close out, with my information, and then Akai, I want you to just kind of recap your company name, how people can reach out to you to learn more about what you do. So if anybody joined us late, I am Safietou Russell, CEO and founder of SDR Consulting Inc. I have a virtual practice based in New York, but we do work with clients all over, and we mostly work with business owners, especially those in the mental health profession, helping them reduce their concerns regarding tax and accounting so they can focus on their patients, clients, and their own mental health. And you can find us online at SDR Consulting on social media, as well as website, sdrconsultinginc.com. And lastly, by phone at 516-255-6603. And Akai, you can go ahead and share your information.
Perfect. Akai Jackson here, America's favorite mindfulness coach and owner of IXL. Okay, you can find me www.ixl.today, right? It stands for IXL today. Okay, you can also find me on social at Akai, AKAI.Jackson, and the number 22. And you can actually take advantage of looking at our Instagram account at IXL_today. And we are a personal and professional development agency that curates mindset shift programs that take clients from existing to excelling in physical, mental, and financial health.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your summer. And be sure to tune in next Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern for our next Business Basics Friday session. Akai, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you as well, Safietou. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.